Sun saying that they gave up all of the all interest in this, and we were totally paranoid about having that done. We're like, why would they do that? So we basically showed it to Sun's lawyers, and they were like, oh, this is such. We was calling it Nuhu, and they're like, this is like a problem with all our. We don't want anything to do with this. Yeah, we'll sign this. And so they signed it. We faxed it to Netscape, and we got bought, which was great. And that was the first company. And then 3 years later, we stayed at Netscape to vest our winnings, and that worked out really well. After Netscape got bought by AOL 3 weeks after we got there. But then it was like I wanted to get funded. I wanted to be one of these guys who would get funded. And so I quit. Well, AOL laid off the entire West Coast, and I was part of that. And I was like, all right, for my next trip, I want to get funded. And so I sat and talked to a bunch of folks I'd worked with before. They referred me to people, And what happened was you end up talking to a VC, and oftentimes the VC is like, I've got this idea. And like, And is it anything like what I'm thinking about? Not really. Okay, fine, it's the exact same thing. And he's like, I've got another guy who's talking about something similar. And like, And so the hint is when you're talking to somebody who might fund you and they say, talk to someone else, talk to them.
Critical tick coming, or when.
Yeah, basically, and what happens is when you're being introduced to someone else who's got an idea that's in the same language as you, then go talk to them, because there's really no harm in it. And what happens often is, the VC is going to cross-check both of you. So I actually ended up getting introduced to a guy named Jim McDermott, who was a guy who built Stamps.com back in 1990 something or other. And he was living in LA and had an idea for doing a social network to introduce people and help people close more business with the people they knew. And that was more or less what I had pitched to these guys at US Venture Partners. And so I drove down, talked to the guy, and we shook hands, and basically 6 months later ended up getting funding from these guys. But another key tidbit here is, it takes a long time to get funding. It is not like, well, for most people. There are some people who will end up getting funding overnight. Most people end up, you talk to someone and they want to talk to you 4 weeks later and go, what have you done? And it's not like, oh, I've been waiting to talk to you for 4 weeks. It's, oh, I've got all this stuff, things are happening, we're building more code. You have to basically show progression to get anybody to care about what you're doing.
That is a huge tip. That's why you sandbag the first meeting, or that's like.
Oh, that's one way to do it.
Or just do real work like Chris does.
I mean, the key is you want to show people that you're exciting and it's worthwhile to talk to you. Like it's the kind of thing where at the end of the day you want people to be excited about working with you, and oftentimes what they'll do is they'll try to put you together with other folks. And at the time, I mean, this for me was a killer. I probably should have not taken funding, and I probably should have gone off and done a startup with Jim and done a consumer-based social network, because those seem to have worked out pretty well. And I didn't need the money, but what I really wanted at the time was to be somebody who could get funding. And I